Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CoinGeek weekly live stream. I'm your host, Kurt Wuckert Jr., and we are doing a little bit of a delayed time, so we allow the Australians in our lives a little bit of time to have their coffee and wake up, shake out the cobwebs, and get ready to chit-chat. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold all of a sudden. My whole family's been sick for like 2 weeks, and I've been like, man, my immune system must be doing great. Now they're all better, and I'm starting to feel a little sick. So if my voice falls apart on you, that's why. So everybody, before we get too deep in the weeds, I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, hit that alarm bell so that you know every time CoinGeek goes live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all around the other place. And if you're watching right now, I beg of you, please retweet or share on whatever social media platform that you are watching from. Let everybody know that we are doing live Q&A. Our guests this week will be Brendan Lee and Mohammad Jabber, a couple of guys from Elas Digital, but they've both been in a handful of other things around the BSV ecosystem for many years now. So looking forward to having a good conversation about Bitcoin stuff, really anything. Actually, both guys know a whole lot about a whole lot of stuff. So I imagine we will burn through a whole bunch of really interesting information. Frankly, Brendan's one of the funnest guys I ever get to chat with, and I don't get to chat with him very much anymore, but a couple of times I've gotten to meet him in person and have a couple of drinks. It is a riot. So really looking forward to it. But before we get there, we have to thank our sponsors. Everybody who wants to be a sponsor on the show, please bother Alex Moon, who is in Dubai at the moment, but you can still bug Alex Moon. He's the guy that handles the ad space. I would love to have your logo floating somewhere around my head right here, and we have competitive rates for that kind of thing. So please bother Alex Moon. Let him know you want to pay money in order to advertise on the CoinGeek weekly live stream. We can give you unique shout outs. We can do video ads. We can do banner ads. We can do all kinds of stuff. So just know that we're not limited to any one thing, but we would love to have you. And on that, our sponsor for this week is Centbee. So we're going to be playing a Centbee ad, and then we will return with Mr. Brendan Lee and Mo Jabber.
Life is short. Get out and get active. Immerse yourself in sound. Play hard and taste delight. Share your moments. Live a life of style. Activate your lifestyle. Shop your favorite brands with Bitcoin SV. Activate your lifestyle with Centbee today.
Such a juicy ad. Mr. Ward, bring in my guests, please. Sorry, we got the Brandon Ward production show here. What's up, Brendan? How are you?
Hey, Kurt.
Very well.
How you doing? You know what? I said Jabber, and it is like the most American butchering, I'm sure. What is the right way to say your last name?
Everyone gets it mixed up, but it's J-Bar.
J-Bar. Okay.
Yeah.
That works. So, sorry. That's the Chicago in me. Like, yeah, it's Jabber. So.
Yeah. Refreshing to hear it anyway. We haven't been overseas in a while, so.
You could Americanize it to J-Bar, but if you're Australian, it's J-Bar. At the end.
That works. Sounds good. All right, guys. So it feels like it's been forever since I've talked to either of you guys. And it's funny because I see you both occasionally on social media and that kind of thing. And I'm always like, oh, yeah, why don't we hang out more? And, well, the COVID and all that nonsense. But ultimately, it's really good to see you both. Mo, where are you located?
So at the moment, I'm located in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, okay. So you're also out there. All right, cool.
So a bit further south from Brendan, who's in Queensland.
Got it.
And Elas HQ, as they say.
Very cool.
Which is, wow, the palace.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely palatial. So let's start there. Elas Digital. You guys are a development firm. I know you have a token protocol and some various other things. You've been involved in a number of things quietly, but what's up with Elas? What's the situation? What's the roadmap? Where are you guys at?
Well, it's so at the moment it's been So we actually have a couple of projects on that we're actually developing right at the moment. So one of those is through the Block Dojo in London, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
And that's it sort of started out as a bit of an NFT project, but we've tried to guide it into much more of like a utility token, selling digital rights to content and things like that. And the guys have been very receptive to the ideas that we've put forward, which has been great. And we think that that project has certainly a lot of potential, and we look forward to taking that to the next stage. But we've delivered for them a working prototype using our token issuance system, and which has been great. And we're working on another project here in Australia, which is looking to sort of do almost like an Uber delivery type service, but for a very different industry. Nice. And it's still pretty early days, so we won't say too much more about that, but it's a pretty exciting project, and really looking forward to
It's funny that you mentioned NFTs, because everybody talks about who made the first NFT on Bitcoin and all of this stuff, and there's a lot of debate. I think in partially how loosely you define NFT in the first place, but I should say, Brendan, I'm pretty sure you sent me my first BSV NFT, so I'm going to go ahead and give you credit. I don't know how much feedback I get from that.
We've spoken about that internally. I think we read the first NFTs before the NFTs were a thing at the CoinGeek Live conference when we were just handing it out. Mm-hmm. But we haven't really thought about it until recently. We just looked at each other and said, "We were the first ones," but thanks for the
we sort of went, "Is it really? Were we? I don't know." It was sort of a bit of a moment. But yes. Thank you. We'll take credit. And to anyone who still has their tokens, you can actually still go in. The wallet is still up. You can look at those tokens, and we do have a plan once we have sort of some freedom of resources to actually integrate those tokens into Sinavera. So you'll be able to go into your Sinavera wallet and type in the seed words, and those tokens will pop up. But we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I just thought the world should know. I remember it was funny because you sent me a DM about it, like right after whichever conference it was where you talked about them.
It was the first New York conference, I think. That
sounds right. Yeah, because I think it was in my hotel room and kind of bored, and you were messaging me. I'm like, you know what? I do have time. So no, that's funny. So. Mo, your MO. What is your modus operandi over at Elas? I know you guys work together, but what are the different roles you guys are handling over there?
Yeah, I think it's just in a simple way. It's like when Brendan reached out to me when he started Elas, he was kind of looking for someone to kind of handle the non-technical side of things, and as soon as he explained the idea, I was kind of like, yep, I'm all in. So I'm kind of handling like the day-to-day, the operations, the business development, all the non-technical stuff, the project delivery, whereas Brendan is kind of just the genius behind the token system, and the patenting of that. So we're protecting intellectual property and developing it. So we're predominantly a research and development company. So that's where we see ourselves.
No, for sure.
Yeah, Mo is taken on a lot in terms of, actually developing the business processes and really. So when customers come to us, quite often they kind of have an idea of what the end product should be, but there's a lot of work to sort of tease that out of them and get it into a format that we can actually use to go and develop. So Mo has a really great system for sort of teasing that out. We call that discovery. And it's the first thing that we ask any of our customers to do. And it basically involves a series of meetings where we really try to pull the idea out of their head, get a handle on who are the different people in the system, what their roles are, what they need to be able to do. And that then allows us to set up so effectively, I don't really know how. I think a lot of people don't really understand how our system works. But effectively what we do is we create a private ledger with full sort of permissioned access on the Bitcoin public ledger. So it's sort of like a little gated community where only the people who've been given access can get in and do anything. And within that, we can create tokens, but also data, anything that you want. So once we've pulled that information out through the discovery process, that really allows us to understand how that ledger needs to be structured. And that's quite important. You don't just want to do things willy-nilly, otherwise it gets really hard to manage. And so we actually use a sort of a hybrid Metanet protocol that we developed ourselves, which has certain things like multi-signature permissions and spendable nodes, and set up that kind of structure that they need. And then from within that structure, we can create tokens and they can be used and whatever needs to happen then. So.
Interesting. So it's sort of like a proprietary sandbox is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a sandbox. That's sort of more of like a development environment, but kind of once you're in production, the ledger's set. You create that structure and then you that's what you've got. And of course it's possible to change it, but you're working in a media that is permanent record, and so you want to get it as close to right as possible from the beginning. You don't want to be doing major changes 6 months, a year down the track. So
no, that makes sense. So why a variation on Metanet protocol versus any of the other things that you could conceivably do? There's for whatever reason, I remember Craig giving his Metanet speech, like, I don't even know, 3 years ago now, when it first was sort of mentioned on stage. And it seems like Metanet, other than I know the show wallet people, and they have a little bit Metanet ecosystem as well. But why is that not caught on more in your opinion? And maybe what are people missing?
So for us, we actually started out with our own system of doing things, and then I started looking more closely at the Metanet, and I realized, if there were some slight changes to the way that's being built today, it would give us a much more elegant way of doing things, because it would eliminate sort of big long chains of things happening, and sort of, like, without going too much into the weeds, it's just a really elegant way of being able to create that private ledger and tie everything together, because otherwise we were using actual coin outputs to create edges within our ledger. So we would have to have Satoshis in a place and then spend them in a particular way to create that sort of link. Whereas what the Metanet allows you to do is to bring in Satoshis from outside and put them into your ledger, and then through that activity sort of tie them back to the parent. And it just gives you that extra added flexibility to do things more cleanly, I think.
Sure. Very cool. Yeah, I'm always curious.
As for why it hasn't caught on, I think people are kind of like, they don't really know what to do with it. The Metanet actually allows us to flip the table on the entire delivery model of the internet. And that is a lot to sort of take in all at once, because effectively what you're moving towards is a system where, so instead of, you go to a website today and what happens is the internet routes you to their server and their server sends you back stuff. And, there's 1,000 ways to attack that model. You put a man in the middle, you attack the other end, you attack the route. Whereas what the Metanet does is the people who run that server now put all the information on the public ledger. And then when I want to look at that, I just need to know where it is. And then there's 1,000 portals through which I can come in and access that data. And so the attack surface for people trying to take that information offline is vast, and so much more robust than what we have today. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time for the protocol itself to be developed to the level that's possible. But I predict that once it catches on, we sort of went from fax and telephone to everything on the internet in about probably 20 years or so.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go from everything on the internet to Metanet in about 5, because the Metanet doesn't need any new infrastructure other than what we already have, and plus the Bitcoin network, which is being built right now. And so I think it's that probably the protocol is a little bit immature, and people haven't really figured out what it's for yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually, just before this interview, I got off a call with a university professor who's been teaching a blockchain course for the last 2 or 3 years. And he basically was explaining like, oh, I teach Ethereum and Solidity generally and all these other things. And,
Does he teach Dogecoin?
He may teach Dogecoin. I love them. I've been waiting for a moment to comment on the mug. So, but he, I just brought up like, did you know Bitcoin script was capable of X, Y, and Z? And he was like, I don't really even think about Bitcoin at all. And mostly because he's focused on development and had written off Bitcoin conceptually. And so, we started talking a little bit about Scrypt and just talking about like the UTXO model in general and the scalability. And he was just like, oh my goodness, like, would you guys speak to my university class? Because this is just like mind blowing to me, because I was explaining like low-level machine code and then communicating at that level and being able to really, really get deep with your smart contract language. And it's just fascinating how insulated people are from the fact that there is just this massive disruptive tool that anybody can build on right now. and
it's right there.
Right.
And you can do it today. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it really is mind-blowing. And I don't know what else. I mean, I guess I don't know what else I can do. Like I spend all of my time talking about how this can be done on Bitcoin, but like I always ask everybody, and maybe this is a good question for Mo, like what can we all be doing to do more outreach and let people know, like, hey, right over here, you can solve like all of these payments and identity problems and ownership and all of that stuff. What are we not doing that we can be doing better, in your opinion?
I think it's a couple of things. So I know that you're the champion of business development. You keep hammering it down, and I really believe, and Brendan would agree with me, that is what is most important. And at the same time, whilst you're going to do that business development, it's not even talking about Bitcoin. It's not even talking about crypto. I mean, maybe you could use blockchain just for that kind of buzz factor, wow factor, but really it's about starting with the end in mind. What is the pain point for the user? So as you know, with Elas, it's not a protocol. We basically have to tailor the solution based on the requirements of the customer, whether that's an existing platform, whether that's existing business processes. It's about finding out what the pain points are, and then seeing how using this technology is going to add benefit to our clients and their end users. That could be dollar values, that could be time, could be so many things. So we're having a lot of success lately, just focusing on going out there, speaking to people that we're not even looking for Bitcoin or blockchain, and not even really mentioning it other than, hey, this is how we're gonna, allow you to save money, save time, have added security, and also opening up new business models that are not possible.
And to move really quickly. I think people get we say how long we think things are going to take, and people look at us sideways and go, you guys are crazy if you think. But then, we're then able to do it. So the prototype NFT thing that we did for the guys in London, we turned that around in about 2.5 weeks. And that was completely customized to their screen. Like, they gave us all of the wireframes and it's all exactly the way they wanted it. And that's the nature of developing on Bitcoin. If you've got your own systems to use it correctly set up, your infrastructure setup cost is zero. You're effectively just having to customize a little very thin wrapper on the top of it, and you're away. that's it, and it's such an amazing tool. It's a real. I find it's a real crying shame that people get so fixated on this idea that Bitcoin doesn't do any of those things. When it so clearly does.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating experiment in social engineering to see even just showing a very basic thing, showing somebody, hey, play haste for 2 minutes, or even just use a hand cash wallet and like send a penny, and you get the people who are like, oh, interesting, I didn't know Bitcoin could do something like that. It's just like, oh man, like if you only knew. So no, it's just I don't know. It's a shame, frankly. Brendan, I think you have to tell the story of the Doge mug. Where did you get the Doge mug? What's the story there?
Look, there's a really good story here. So I bought this from Zero Confs. So
Nice.
I'm not sure, people remember Zero Confs. I think he's still.
I do. I used to buy T-shirts from them. I don't know where
Pete. Pete is my man. I love Pete. We actually did through him. So this shirt, we did a Christmas run
nice.
in 2020 where everyone got Elas gear. But as part of that, I ordered a big Doge mug, and it that was right when COVID was really mucking up all of the postal supply chain, and it never showed up. And I wrote to Pete and said, "Oh, my mug hasn't arrived," and he said, "That's okay, I'll send you another one." And I was like, "Oh, don't do that. I can see it's on its way." But anyway, he did it anyway. I said, "All right, if the other one shows up, we'll do something good with it." And so anyway, one mug showed up, and then another week later, the second one showed up, like 10 weeks late or something. So anyway, I said to Pete, "Well, let's send it to somebody." And then I said, I know, I'll send it to Elon Musk. And so I packed it in a box with some packing materials. I wrote a nice letter, put that inside, and took it to the post office and sent it Elon Musk, SpaceX, Hawthorne. And the lady at the post office was like, "You're having a laugh, mate." But anyway, I tracked it on, I had tracking on it, and I saw that it landed in the US, and then it just disappeared. Like I never saw what happened to it after that.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks later, Elon Musk sent his first Dogecoin tweet. So if I'm responsible for that, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, Brendan, this is your fault. Oh my goodness. That's hysterical. So it's time to send the Dragon mug. I don't know if you followed up.
Yeah, I've tweeted a couple of times, but it's impossible to
No.
One day I'll get the chance, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, Elon Musk's I have like 20,000 followers on Twitter. I tell you right now, my notifications are like impossible. Like I can't get through them.
Thanks, Alex.
I can't imagine what his experience must be.
Send Elon a BSV mug. All right, next time I send him a mug, I'll make sure it's BSV.
Yeah, let's write him a nice note about what Bitcoin's capable of.
That's what I did last time, but he clearly went, "Cool mug, whatever."
You're right. Right, Australia.
Anyway.
Here's a question from Alex, who I know for a fact is sitting in his hotel in Dubai right now. Is the Elas token protocol its own, or is it run based, or is it based on anything else?
It is completely our own, and so we have actually patented, and it's less of a protocol and more of a token creation method. Mm-hmm. And so our tokens really are issued outside of any kind of script or service that we have to run. It's really a way of saying if we spend Bitcoin and generate a transaction that looks like this, these outputs can be considered tokens. And if they're spent in a particular way, they will maintain the property of being a token within the system. And so because we're at sort of that 30,000 foot view, when we go into the actual token themselves, it means that we have tremendous flexibility to turn them into whatever they need to be. So, we have scripts that do effectively the same thing as STAS, forcing forward a function to lock them back to the Genesis output. But we're looking at other very different ways of doing similar things to, you know, essentially, because you don't always need all of the functions that are in a script like that. You know, you can do things with something that's much smaller, much more efficient. I personally believe that probably 90% of use cases will be creating tokens that get spent once and effectively are destroyed in that transaction. And so the way we do that is we mint the token with, you know, 150 Satoshis in it or whatever. And when you spend it, the 150 Satoshis pay a mining fee, and you just leave a false return output that says, oh, this was redeemed by this person on this date. And that's, you know, a very valid use case for a token. That's like any kind of voucher where it gets ripped up and you get the stub. Well, the stub is just that opportune output that's left on chain. So it's our token system. It's something that only we have. If you have questions about it, please do reach out. You know, we're more than happy to take you through what it is, how it can work for you. And especially in the context of having that private ledger and all of those permissions around who can issue those tokens, when and how, you know, it's a very powerful toolkit.
Does it require any secondary infrastructure at all, or is it like, it sounds like a colored coin in a basic sense?
It's kind of so colored coins tended to be like a protocol hack. So they would take the transaction and go, oh, well, they've removed the functionality from this piece of the transaction protocol, so we're going to insert new functionality in there, and that's how the colored coins.
Right.
So whereas we're sort of like, depending on how you implement it, it is possible to have tokens that you can't actually tell that they're tokens when you receive them. You have to kind of scan back through the history and check that they are actually tokens. We've now got different ways that you can do that much more quickly and without too much effort. There is a component of infrastructure, but really that's quite minimal, and it's important to understand that it's not something that we would operate. In each case, it's something that our customer, who is the issuer of those tokens, would be operating, and maybe we're operating it on their behalf. Right. But technically, they're the ones who are controlling that infrastructure. And so the point of that is really that without the issuer and without their commitment to redeem whatever those tokens are for, the tokens really don't have any purpose anyway. And so there is a requirement, but it's pretty minimal. You know, it's, you know, like a $40 a month kind of thing can run several thousand or tens of thousands of tokens pretty easily.
Makes sense. Do you have okay, let's take an Alex Moon question, because he's the important one. what wallet can I use to hold tokens on the Elas protocol?
So that's a great question, Alex. At the moment, the tokens that we have really are very issuer application specific. And so you've got to be logged into the issuer's website and using their platform to have the tokens. And we use Sinovera as kind of a base platform. And so that's been designed to be very flexible so it can be reskinned easily, have added functionality. And so we do envisage a time when there are tokens being created that are sort of not particularly linked to, say, one website or platform, you know, where there's someone who's issuing a token that's then useful in 100 different places, that you'd be able to have those in your Sinovera wallet, go to some other website and spend them through that. But at the moment, all of the use cases that we've been developing are all where the token is specifically related to the particular service that's running in that platform. And so we haven't really needed a wallet where those tokens can be withdrawn, and, you know, because they're effectively, so far they haven't really been super value based. I mean, look, AMLA, which was a gold token, that was definitely a value based token. They wanted their own wallet to start with, and the plan was always that there'd be much more wallets out there that would be able to handle the tokens. They're sort of, I guess they're still looking for a customer to bring gold into the system.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard. I've talked to Eli a little bit about that too, and he's like, "No, we're ready to go. We just need somebody to bite, basically."
Yeah,
So,
we've tested their system a fair bit, and it's a really great way of managing things. You end up with a gold-backed currency where it's 100% that the gold is there, it's certified, it's audited. It's a really elegant way of doing it, and I think for us it was a great test case of our own capabilities to prove that we were able to go and actually build something of that level of complexity. And it's really given us the confidence when our customers come to us and say, "Oh, we want to do this thing," and look at it and go, "Okay, well, maybe it's a bit complicated, but really, as long as we think about things the right way." And so one of the things that we have is, so we have that token issuance method, which is what we prefer to call it. And within that method, we have multiple different types of tokens that we can create. So we have what we call a static token, which is like those NFTs that we were handing out back in New York, where it's like this token represents this picture, and it's this serial number. Then we have a dynamic token, and that's more of like a bag of holding. So if I get a dynamic token, it might contain 500 of an item, and then I might want to give you 200 of them. You've got to have the same dynamic token. So you've got to have a dynamic token that can hold the same thing. And then to do a transaction, you give me yours, and they go into the transaction. The Satoshis get exchanged, and we each take our bag of holding back. And so then if I gave you 100, I'd now have 400, and you'd have whatever you had before plus 100.
Sure.
We have what we call a hanging token, which is a design which is for capturing database transactions. And it's effectively just a permission management tool where the actual database records are written as false return outputs in the transaction. And the token doesn't just really says this person wrote these records. And that can be a multi-signature thing. So you might have 50 people who have access, and each time someone does something, it records who did it and what they did.
No, for sure.
We have a couple of other ones. They're all pretty interesting, and they can all be sort of blended, which is really fun as well.
Yeah, no, and that sounds like where things would get really powerful if you have different attributes that can do different things with data. My question is was this designed with a specific clientele in mind, or was the purpose to make a bunch of like general purpose tools that people could then utilize? This might be half a question for Mo too. Is it like what is the pursuit there? Are you looking to find clientele because you designed a thing a certain way, or was it like, hey, here's an economic problem, we've made a solution for it, now we got to like target that industry?
Yeah, I think it's more a method that we provide, and we're not bounded by any restrictions of a protocol. So that way we really can listen to exactly what the customer needs and what their pain points are, and literally tailor a solution exactly to that. Yeah. So obviously other companies in the space may have a different view or have taken a different approach, but we've always maintained that we don't want to be limited to a certain way of doing things that's going to apply to all customers. So it's more of a method than a protocol.
Yeah, it's about having. It was never designed with a particular market. I mean, actually, well, that's not quite true. The original design was about cash tokens, and so using static tokens like a banknote.
Yeah,
you can effectively create a banknote. It's got a serial number, and those NFTs were probably a good first example of how you can create something. Where so there's each of those pictures. I think there were 20 pictures in the set. Those are on chain, but then every one of the tokens has its own unique serial number and other information that's embedded in it. That was kind of the original idea, was that you could say, okay, here's what a $1 bill looks like. Now we're going to create 50 million of them, and here's the serial numbers, and then those can just go out and start circulating and be cash. And, it's pretty amazing. If you run the numbers, you can replace every banknote circulating in the US for about 600 BSV. And if you use dynamic tokens to manage the coins, you sort of end up with a system the problem with doing the coins was that it gets pretty top heavy. Like you end up just with hundreds of millions or billions of these little sort of very tiny value tokens. But if you've got like a dynamic token plus static tokens for the higher value units, you actually create a system that's very utile and fast. But yeah, we got to the end of that first static token patent and then realized, well, there's a lot more that we can do with these same methods if we are a bit open-minded about the script that we're using and what the purpose of that script is. And so that sort of became, well, we can do control systems, we can do all these other things. And so we've built prototypes internally. So we have a prototype system for issuing ballot papers and doing elections, which is pretty cool. We have, other stuff that we've been working on, but really it's all about finding the customers who are trying to do something really innovative and having all of the tools necessary at our disposal to be able to do that for them to, really take that.
I mean, it sounds like a very good idea. So does Bitcoin, so does all kinds of other stuff that, it's just like people
at the moment, it's a bit like, Bitcoin is gasping for this kind of attention and within that, it's sort of a similar struggle, I think, it's very easy to get lost in the noise.
No, it really is. And it's funny. We get this question here from John Pratt. Great technical stuff as always. Kurt, do you plan on making a video for dummies? Government officials, regular citizens not excited about BSV tech. And it's like, I feel like I do this pretty well anyways. Like take a pretty high level concept, bring it down to like, here's how this works. Like if you want more detail, you can look here, but like, I feel like I'm at a point where even bringing it down to what I think is a low level, like I come to realize, sometimes I'll talk for 20 minutes and they'll be like, can you explain what a wallet is? And I'm like, ooh, okay. All right. Sorry. And then, and then it's like, how far can you break this down to be granular without actually starting to, how do you pick the crowd? I mean, it's just such a difficult thing. And Brendan, I know you had a heavy hand in the Bitcoin Association curriculum and stuff. So I'm curious what that process is like. I'd be very curious for your opinion, because I think there's a lot of people out there that, want to see themselves as like a public advocate, like run meetups and that kind of thing. And then they're just a little bit like, man, I don't know. How do I tailor this to somebody that's been to 20 meetups and is interested versus somebody who's like, I don't know, my boss sent me to learn about a blockchain.
Well, so I'm still with the Bitcoin Association, so I do that part time. It's always been part time, but at the moment it's kind of a bit on the back burner. But we're working on. We're about to release. So we've done Introduction to Bitcoin Theory, which was just the white paper and a really succinct kind of breakdown. Then Kapil and a couple of other people did the Introduction to Bitcoin Development, which was really looking at the tools. We recently did Introduction to Bitcoin Enterprise, which is really looking at the responsibility of people running nodes. What is it that you're meant to do? Because I think that's one of the things that people get most confused about, and one of the things about which there is the most disinformation out there. What is the purpose of a node? Why would you run one? All of these things have been completely just soiled with these terrible ideas of how the network actually functions. Now, none of those are really for that audience who's just coming in and going, someone told me this was good, show me more. So we are I'm just writing the last module for, we're calling it Introduction to Bitcoin Enterprise. And it's we've tried to keep it very short. It's going to be about an hour long, lots of video content, sort of minimal text, nice pictures, and really just saying, here's why BSV is great. We've got the scaling, we've got the functionality, we have the enterprise support, we have the legal strategy. the whole system and everything around it is being built with regulation and compliance in mind, and making sure that people who are coming in and building on the platform, still too technical. IMO, we need a dancing dragon. Okay, look, honestly, it's really hard. You know, how far do you dumb it down? And I don't really want to make a video full of dancing girls and wow, BSV is so great. But
hand puppets. B is for Bitcoin.
But we have tried to break it down to just, you know, really kind of flash facts. BSV can do this. And that's really at the level that course is targeted. And so that's kind of for somebody who's like a CTO or a CEO who's looking at blockchain, wants to build on something, and even it's not even that you would have to come in and do the whole course. You just come in and go, okay, I want to understand about this scaling. Why does it scale? And there's just one page, and it really succinctly outlines why does it scale, how does it scale. There's a video with someone who understands talking about it. So
no, and I think that's crucial actually to break it down to topics. It's one of the things I've been saying about CoinGeek conferences and stuff too, is like, you know, we should probably have like, you know, keep the main show, but maybe have like external modules that are very topical. So somebody could send an employee for 2 hours to learn like some specific thing, you know? But yeah, it's hard because it's so like, I saw more somewhere posted explaining the internet in 1995, you know, and I think that's actually a really good example because, you know, it was a pretty pigeonholed thing. You could only do a couple of different basic things. But now, I mean, you have this conversation with people today. Like, I mean,
it's like explaining the internet in 1995 when someone else has been running around telling people that the internet is a network of carrier pigeons. And you're trying to tell people, no, it's a connected system of modems. And they're like, what the hell is even a modem? Get out of here. You're a scammer. Right.
Modems aren't real. Here's a question from Bryant Stockwell. Can BSV compete on dev cost and maintenance with a traditional relational database solution? Example, a school keeps demographic and attendance data on students and can query the database for reporting.
I would say that it probably can. So because a database like that, you know, you have some infrastructure, you have a server, you know, say you pay whatever's the cost of a server, say $3,000-$4,000. For $4,000, you can write 400 million transactions. Data, a lot of transactions, and so. Rather than that, just having like a very thin access layer, a permissioned ledger, and, you know, read and write controls through to the public ledger, I think, you know, while at the moment we're still kind of developing those sort of platforms, once they're built and it's something there where you can go and do like a Squarespace, oh yeah, I need that kind of database, and bang, there's your front end, you can start doing stuff. Once we get to that level, I think it's going to trounce the traditional model easily.
Yeah, it's funny. That's actually a conversation that I keep having with people is, you know, I like the things that I know exist. And, you know, I'm one of the people that runs Gorilla Pool, and we're looking for stuff to like provide to people so they can send us transactions easier. And like, then somebody will come up to me and be like, Kurt, you know what tool we just don't have at all? And they'll just bring something up, and I'm like, oh, how would I know that you need that? You know? So I'm curious for you, like, as you work on things, what's something that you wish existed? Is there like a toolkit or something that like would just make your life a million times easier if it was just there and you could copy and paste a little bit?
You know, I would love a kind of almost like a stable token, that like something that's where I can go and I pay $10 and I get 1,000 pennies, and it's usable on a plethora of websites. And so I go to the news, and instead of just being, I don't know about news in America, but in Australia, you get You get ads at the top, ads at the sides, and ads all the way through. And the actual news is a paragraph and a paragraph. I can't stand it. And I would much rather go to that website, see the headline, 1 cent to read more. Click, okay, next paragraph. Click next paragraph. And maybe I spend 5 cents. Maybe I burn through that $10 in a week. I don't care because my eyeballs are clean of this trash vision that we're being served every day. We could really improve, outcomes for the journalists because we can pay them, that 1 cent directly kind of thing. And, that's sort of one thing that I've been thinking very hard about. And I don't think that's for us to build, though. I think we are looking for somebody who wants to build that, and we absolutely know how to do it. So I think that's kind of, like this whole idea of a stable coin. I think a stable coin is not really the way to do it. I think it's a payment instrument where it's fiat comes in and fiat goes out, but it's not really a cash token. I don't want that 1 cent to be usable as cash because that just paints a target on your back. It means that you're now going and competing with the government to issue cash, and you probably don't have permission. But if you're just taking a payment, giving someone something that they can use to redeem, and somebody's receiving it and able to redeem it for cash on the other end, that problem goes away. And so that's a huge hole in the market. And if you got in, you could really run with that.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I've theorized for, like, keep your ecosystem, issue an internal. I mean, think of any of the businesses built on BSV, and if you handled it that way, like you could accept Ethereum payments or BTC or just whatever, you just accept and issue a dollar.
Take a credit card,
right? You just issue an internal token that is not, not volatile, and then just utilize it that way. It strikes me as crazy that doesn't happen.
I know. And as much as people don't want to hear it, and I can hear the groans, but we tell our customers, don't force your customers into taking BSV, because immediately you're locking yourself into a pretty tiny market. And then even if you say, we'll take all of these other cryptos, it's still a very tiny market. You need to be as flexible as possible to reach the broadest possible audience. And so that means credit card, PayPal, bank transfer, like anything that you can manage. And once you get that into the system and they're on the BSV rails, well, we can blow them away with how quick things move, how fast things are, all of that sort of thing. And we don't need to be in their face. They just need to get there and go, hey, wow, this is an amazing user experience. I'm definitely going to come back. And that's what you want.
And that's what we've had a lot of success is that, we say to our customers it's possible to use Bitcoin, as a commodity ledger whilst hiding it seamlessly from the front end. So like all the success we've had recently with our business development engagement, it's like they barely even know we're talking about Bitcoin, and especially the onboarding thing. It's like to use the platform, if it requires e-payments, it's just traditional payments. And using the rails and the power of the technology, it's like by the end of it, nobody needs to even know they're using Bitcoin. I think that's something that we've had success with, something that we'd like to share with everybody else. But using the idea of Bitcoin as kind of the method for payments, whilst it's still highly speculative, I think it's not going to be the case for a while. So.
No, I agree. I mean, imagine that if your business could do sub-cent payments and accept Stripe to join the to join the company or whatever, right? It's
exactly.
I don't know, it's just fascinating.
I think then it's anybody who has a credit or a debit card is now your market. And it'd be silly not to consider that when you're building your business plan.
No, absolutely. Speaking of silly, what else do you think is? let's just start calling people out. What else is silly in the Bitcoin economy that you wish you could change with a magic wand?
Honestly, seeing some of the trash articles coming from outside talking about how we don't know what we're doing and all of this kind of, I wish we could just magic that away. It's the part of the problem is it's a little bit hard to ignore, and it's very easy to waste a lot of time trying to sort of counter. And so I wish I could just put a big, eraser across all of that sort of thing. Within the ecosystem, there's a lot of, I guess it's not a bad thing that the BSV is kind of forming within itself little groups, but I wish it could be kept a bit more civil. I've seen some pretty horrible stuff being said. Try to stay out of it as much as possible.
Yeah, I can never figure out, and maybe it's because I'm like the Switzerland of BSV. Like I kind of feel like I'm friends with everybody, including factions of people that really, really dislike each other. But I just don't get it. Like I cannot relate with hating somebody because of X, Y, and Z reasons. Like even when I think their criticisms are valid, I always sort of look at it and say, yeah, but you could just sort of laugh and shrug about it and move on with your life, right? So maybe I'm crazy, but I don't see a reason to have enemies, especially in our little subculture here.
Yeah, exactly. We sort of apes together strong. Sort of says a lot,
Yep. For sure.
But at the same time, I think that what we have in our favor is that the technical system that we all share in common is far and away the best out there. And, like you can look at any other blockchain, and even the ones where they're jumping up on a box and saying, hey, we've figured out the scaling problem.
Right.
They are light years behind us. And that's the biggest advantage that we have, is that even when all of the people are standing there going, they don't know what we're doing, we're going to just blow past them. And so I think that it was about 5 years ago, or not 5 years, but 3 years ago, I said, let's let them keep burning their house down while we finish building our spaceship. And I think that's the best way to approach the outside guys. The inside guys, I guess my only message is be excellent to each other, and try to just realize that mostly, for the most part, we all want the same success, and as long as we don't sort of garrote each other, we will get there. So
absolutely. We got about 6 minutes left. I'm gonna pass to Mo, because Brendan, you've had the lion's share of the conversation. No criticism to you, and in all fairness to Mo, and he deserves some mic time. But what are some closing thoughts from you? What do you want people to think of when Elas is brought up, or Bitcoin in general? How can people connect with you better, and what do you have to provide them?
Well, I think that it's ultimately it's making a difference in people's lives. I know we've kind of honed on that a bit, but it's kind of empowering people to take control of their information and their actual businesses in ways that they otherwise couldn't today with legacy technology. So I feel like Bitcoin just been kind of it's got a bad PR, obviously. So it's like just really knowing what we know about this technology and how it can solve so many problems for people. They don't know. It's almost like, okay, we can't get through the basic use case of peer-to-peer cash. We have kind of a responsibility to go in through the back door and kind of just make it happen that way. I'm very confident that we are. We all kind of we're in it for the right reasons. When you're in this part of town, we've survived a lot of shit and a lot of tomatoes being thrown at us. Yeah. Which I think it's really been a very challenging and very testing year. But I know that we can the worst is behind us, and we can we can finally start to kind of reap the benefits of all that. It's just amazing. I got to say, like, you know, sometimes, you know, especially when you kind of spend too much time on social media, and you kind of just, like, a lot of the time it's like you're just waiting for price to go up. But when you're actually kind of in the back rooms having the conversations, the big difference that I've found is that, you know, stuff does take time, but stuff is happening. And you can't rely on somebody else to kind of just make it happen. You have to kind of create your own reality and do it yourself. Everybody has that responsibility.
Yeah. No, that's brilliantly said. And in fact, I've been telling people this for what feels like forever now. It's basically like, you know, you're a capable bit. Like if you can go sell something, like, you could be the person that makes BSV the most important thing in the global economy, you know. And it's like literally any of us are capable of it. Like it's just a general purpose tool. Like, we don't talk so much about the people that invented the internet anymore. We talk about the people that created the giant explosive startups utilizing the internet. And like, there's dozens, hundreds, thousands of opportunities to be that next whoever, you know, Mark Andreessen or, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or some of these other folks. And I just wish more people would pursue it. It just is bonkers to me that people are ready to, you know, sit idly by and, you know, tweet and retweet and, you know, tell everybody they're doing their job wrong or whatever. And it's like, am I the only person that cold calls? Like, am I the only person with like a sales background, or like what the heck is wrong with everybody? It drives me up the wall, frankly.
Yeah.
So that's my rant.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So
Totally agree. I mean, I think if there's any message that we could get out to people, it's think big. Like, don't think, oh, how can I do this like micro thing? Think, how can I solve a giant problem? You know, one of the things I keep thinking about is the Metanet as a private ledger for government, and you can literally have documents like your constitution. Instead of being on a moldy old piece of paper under glass in a museum, it can be a live document on the public ledger where everyone can see it. And it's not that everyone's looking at a reproduction or a copy in a book. The actual document is there for anyone to go and see. If it needs to be amended, you can wrap it in a contract that requires all of the necessary things to happen for that document to be amended. And we can see when it's amended. We can see how it was amended. And you can do everything. All functions of government
who's
can be managed.
for the fallout. No, it's
Exactly.
incredible.
So think big.
No, absolutely, gentlemen. It's been a real pleasure. I'm really hoping to see you guys in Dubai. Are you coming to Dubai?
We are going to Dubai 100%.
I will see you, gentlemen, in Dubai. I'm looking forward to it immensely.
As we are. We haven't left Australia in nearly 3 years now. That's insane.
Yeah.
I haven't not traveled internationally for this long since I was probably 6. I was talking to someone yesterday. They were like complaining about jet lag, and I was like, "Oh yeah, jet lag sucks. I miss it so much."
I hear you. Where can we find you guys? What should people be looking for?
Come to our website, elas.co. You can always hit us up. I'm not so much on Twitter these days, but you know, people just send me an email or reach out to Mo. You know, we're here to hear all of your ideas and to help you realize them. So you know, we think we have one of the most capable teams in the industry. Everyone who joins is a BSV diehard, and on the technical side, we have some of the deepest knowledge on the Metanet and how to build on that system. I think just about anywhere. So we can move very quickly, and we're just excited to help you guys build the future.
Yeah. So just reach out through our website, and like, you know, we'll set up a call and hear your idea and help you validate and iron out the details. There's no such thing as a stupid idea. there's nothing that isn't possible. But just reach out and we'll set up a call. And obviously, if you're also in the space and you are kind of, we're also looking for talented people with strong Bitcoin skills. So also reach out to us if you want to join our culture. Like Brendan said, we're really just building what we believe is the strongest Bitcoin-minded team in the ecosystem, and we want to continue that.
That's great. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Brandon Ward, if you could, I got a private message. All right, thanks, guys. Brandon, if you could show the gentleman out, I'll close in about 30 seconds here, and we'll wrap this up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
So, everybody, this has been the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. It's been, of course, a real pleasure being with the Elas digital gentlemen. I'm fighting the cold here. I hope my sniffling wasn't too distracting for everybody out there. But I thank you so much for joining us, for tuning in, for commenting. Everybody, we really could not do this without you. So thank you so much. And again, please like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're alerted every time we go live, and share this across social media. Let people know that, hey, we just had a really good show about things you can do with Bitcoin that maybe you didn't know. It's an earth-shattering thing, and I can't believe it's not more exciting to more people. But if you share with people, you can let them know that Bitcoin is in fact a general-purpose development platform monetized for the world, and that's a pretty cool thing. So I think I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to wrap it right there. So everybody, thanks again. Thanks to my wife. Thanks to CoinGeek for producing, and I will see you folks next week. And eventually I'll see you in Dubai. So pay attention for announcements about May in Dubai. And I will see you next week. Have a lovely evening and goodbye.
Life is short. Get out and get active. Immerse yourself in sound. Play hard and taste delight. Share your moments. Live a life of style. Activate your lifestyle. Shop your favorite brands with Bitcoin SV. Activate your lifestyle with Centbee today.